Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, top 1 financial advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, I want to take some time to answer a few questions about I-bonds. I-bonds are inflation-protected bonds. Bonds are loans that you can make to the government in this case, and they promise to pay you back your principal plus a certain amount of interest. Now, in the case of an I-bond, that interest rate is 9.62%. Now, any bond to the Fed or to the federal government is known as the safest investment possible and a guaranteed return. That is because as long as we exist, as long as the United States exists, as long as we take taxes, you gonna get your money. And that is something that is quite interesting because I can't say that about the stock market. While history says you're going to be better off, there is no guarantee. And anybody who says the stock market is a guarantee is not telling you the truth. But when it comes to bonds, that is the truth, that you are guaranteed. But the question is whether it is profitable. Will I make more money in bonds versus the stock market and anything else? Well, in this case, I-bonds right now are paying 9.62%. They do adjust this rate twice per year. I think the next time they're going to adjust it will be in October of this year, and people expect it to be 10% or more. So now it's like, well, look, I can guarantee myself 9.62%. The stock market can fall off for all I care. I will take the 9% because that's what the stock market does on average. But there are some drawbacks and some things you should be aware of. Number one, you can only get these from the federal government. You have to go to treasurydirect.gov to even open an account and get an I-bond. There's also a limit. You can only put in $10,000 per year. There is a slight loophole where I think you can put in an additional $5,000 if you get a refund from your tax return. So when you file your taxes, in some cases there's a button you can click. Oh, I get a refund. Let me put this directly into an I-bond. May or may not make sense, but there are a few other drawbacks. So other than $10,000 a year, and here's the thing, that means the maximum at the current rate, the maximum I can make is $962, which I'll take that as opposed to losing money in the market right now. But if you withdraw the money, let's say that you need it for savings, right? Your car breaks down, you need to use the money for vacation or what have you. You lose all of that. You forfeit that interest. You will still get your principal, but you'll forfeit the interest, which what was the point in doing this entire thing if you weren't in it for the interest? Also, if you withdraw within 5 years, you lose the last 3 months of interest. So if you have any for a year and a half, it's 18 months, and you pull out, then you're only going to get 15 months of interest. Better than nothing, but it is something to consider. The other part of this is, with it only being $10,000 per year, this is not a vehicle built for you to really build significant wealth. And the rate can change on the opposite end. So if you look at the history of how these rates have been adjusted, there are two types of rate. They give you the stated regular fixed rate, and then they give you the inflation rate. This is adjusted for inflation, that the inflation numbers we talk about almost every month. So because inflation is at 9.1%, they're saying, look, we're going to give you a little bit more at 9.62. So you're always guaranteed to not lose money to inflation, and just stay above, at least slightly above, what the inflation rate is, which means that these are really built if you know the exact sum of money you need, and you want to make sure that it's not going to get eaten up by inflation. So for example, let's say that in 2004, when I think Spider-Man 2 came out, at that point, one of my favorite movies, but in either case, 2004, I think that was the year. I'm going to call it that year. Yeah, it was. Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire came out in 2004. The first one came out in 2002. Anyway, y'all get the point. So when I went to the movies, $10, I could have gotten me a decent ticket. I probably had a little left over for a little candy. Today, $10 ain't gonna get you nowhere. So if I were able, and I can't because it's too small, I think the smallest is between $25 to $50 if you're going online to get an I-bond. But in either case, if I could put that same $10 or $25 in an I-bond, and today where movies are a lot more expensive, that $10 would be worth more. I would have gotten that inflation protection, and I would still be able to buy the movie ticket and the candy and whatever else, because my money would have grown with inflation. So it would have grown with the movie tickets, grown with candy and whatever other expenses, just because naturally, not this year, but naturally, inflation grows at like 2 to 3% per year. That's what we're trying to get to. We're at 9. We've got a long way to go. But that is the point. It is supposed to protect you from inflation. So if I knew that my kids were going to college and it was only $10,000, but my kids are going to college, I want to make sure that I have the money in cash, which I don't. But if I have the money in cash for college now, I want to make sure that it keeps up with regular inflation. College inflation is different. But when I keep up regular inflation, I could put in an iBond, and 10, 15, 20 years from now, I guess it wouldn't be 20 years from now when they go to college, y'all get the point, but 10 to 15 years from now, it's still going to be worth the same, because the way that inflation moves, $10,000 in 2022 was not $10,000 in 1992. That was a lot of money. It was more money rather than 92 than what it is now, even though it's still a significant amount for most of us. So that is the purpose, right? That is the purpose of it. For me, I personally don't own any iBonds for a few reasons. Based on my time horizon, I am better off, in my view, I'm better off picking up some of these discounts, investing for the long term. And if I were to take $10,000 out of my portfolio or out of my savings and lock it up for at least 1 year, it's really not worth it. There are scenarios where I'll need to go get something fixed in the car. Like I don't have enough to have $10,000 in my savings account for emergencies and stuff like that, and an additional $10,000 just to put away to make a maximum of $962. Like, you know, $962 is still a lot of money. It's decent, but it's not worth the hassle for me. But there are some people who do. There are plenty of people who do. But you have to remember, you got to keep that money locked. One, if you pull it out before a year, no interest for you. If you pull it out within 5 years, 3 months of interest, you are forfeiting for that. So just be aware of it. And then also remember, because I don't think enough people talk about this, that rate can be adjusted down. Okay, so you're getting 9.62% now. You'll see what you get in October. But if the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes are working and interest rates do start to move down, so too will that interest rate. And depending on when you buy it, you could continue to be stuck with that. It's not the worst thing in the world, because again, you're not going to lose money. That is something that's a guarantee. It is something you are not going to lose money with. But my job is not necessarily not to lose, but based on where I am in my 30s and what I'm trying to do in the long term, I'm trying to make money. Yesterday, when we talked about putting $100 in the market for long term, we saw for Apple, $100 a month could have been millions of dollars, right? Well, if I had invested in an iBond over those exact same time frames, it ain't gonna be close, right? They definitely would have fallen in last place every single time. So it's really a balancing act. Do you want to make sure you are protecting a part of your money? It makes sense for some people. I definitely think if you are close to retirement, if you're looking to retire in the next 5 years or so, you might want to start putting just a tiny fraction of your investments. And I'm looking at anywhere between 2 to 10% if you are 5 years or closer to retirement. That makes a lot of sense. Notice I didn't say 50% of your money, because it's only $10,000 anyway. But if you're 5 years from retirement, I think you can put a little bit here and kind of add to it year by year by year, because you are basically guaranteeing that some portion of your money is going to be free in cash and it's not going to be eaten up by inflation. That makes sense. If you're somebody in your 20s and 30s, I don't see the best case in the world for doing it, unless you've got $30,000 in cash laying around somewhere. You can take 10, get your iBond, that's going to guarantee you something. But then I'd also be asking, well, what about the other 20? Shouldn't that be in the market working for you now, and you're picking up these discounts in the market that could push you a lot further down the line? So those are my thoughts on it. I want to say that I don't want to be negative, but I think they've been a little overhyped in the personal finance community. People have been making tons of content and videos about it, and I'm like, I mean, they're cool. They do have a purpose, but I don't think they have a purpose for the people that they're talking to. So that's just me. Let me know what you think about it. I did an interview Money Talks News, when that comes out, I'll let y'all know, and we discuss I-bonds and how we all kind of felt about it as well. So a lot of people have been talking about this like 6 months ago, back in April. You know, if you watched the chart of what people were talking about, you saw that I-bonds were like one of the top hottest things to talk about. Someone said I'm the anti-hype man when it comes to investing. I like have a very even keel demeanor about some of the stuff. So I'm like, yeah, it's a little hype, but y'all kept asking me, so I wanted to go ahead and answer it. But those are my thoughts about I-bonds. Let me know what you think. They're not bad. They're certainly not bad. I just don't know for what we're trying to do, right? All of our subscribers and all of our members inside the members only group, we're trying to grow our money. And inflation protected bonds are better for protection. Ain't nothing wrong with protection. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But is it worth it, right? If I were to say you're going to get a guaranteed 9.2% for at least a year or even 2 years compared to what you could get over 5 or 10 years with, I don't know, Google or something, the math gonna be the math, because I can almost guarantee you that 9% is not gonna last for forever. It could go up in October. We'll see what it does in 2023, but inflation will come down at some point, and that rate on that I-bond is also gonna come down at some point. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. All right, that's it for me. Talk to you later. Bye.